you prepare for interviews? How do you prepare for interviews? How do you manage the interview process? How do you manage salary negotiations? What do you do when you join a company? How do you advance? And what I thought I would do, which people really like, is I'm going to read you a few case studies, because what I have found is the case studies are the most popular thing in the book. There are several dozen very short 2-paragraph case studies of something that happened to somebody and why something worked or why it didn't work. So one of the case studies here is about Pierre, an international student from France. Pierre was graduating with a STEM degree. He was applying to jobs and wanted to know how to answer the question on the online application, will you need visa sponsorship? He believed that if he answered yes, his application would not move forward. And because he could not work for 3 years with his optional practical training, he could work for 3 years. So he did not technically need sponsorship yet, although he would down the road if the company wanted to hire him on a longer term basis. And I go on to discuss, how do you talk about that question that an employer may ask you? Another study here is about Kung, a marketing student from Vietnam. Kung was an international student who had a non-STEM degree in marketing. He was doing his 1 year of optional practical training in a company, and he expected that he would return to Vietnam at the end of the year when his visa expired. He met an American citizen and got engaged, so his fiancé visa, followed by his marriage, allowed him to stay. He ultimately became an American citizen. And the point that I discussed there is sometimes things happen that you don't expect. So you have to prepare for many situations where you may be here shorter or longer than you really expect. Another case study about the process of visas and how it relates to your skill sets is about Adesh, a graduate student from biosciences from India. Adesh had exceedingly unique skills and globally recognized peer review papers from his university. He wanted to understand if a lawyer could help him get a visa based on his skills, not based on his employer. The O and the E visas have some opportunities in this way. He consulted several lawyers and then hired one to pursue a visa based on his exceptional level of scientific ability and proven success. And actually, our US government in the last month is making that more available for really bright international students in the science fields to get visas based on your own merits. And so things are opening up, and that's very promising. Then there's a social work case study about Lakshmi, a social work student from India. Lakshmi was looking for a job that would ultimately result in sponsorship to stay longer in the United States beyond her 1 year OPT. She evaluated the kinds of organizations that have international roles for which sponsorship might be possible and other work opportunities when the employer could apply for a visa without going through the annual lottery. She got an OPT work opportunity that related to her social work training, and she kept looking for roles that would allow her to stay longer. She ultimately returned to India, but she did have the benefit of 1 year of US work experience to build her resume for the future. There's also contributions from Global Detroit, who has a very large program for international students. And they go into some very specific tips about how you need to start early if you're looking to find a job in the United States and you're an international student. You need to make relationships, such as things that the Regional Business Council makes available through mentorships and networking opportunities, because you have to find a person that is going to hire you and thinks you are so irresistible that they will overcome other barriers for you. And you also need to make the most of your connections through the university, through any of the relationships, through roommates, and through organizations such as the Asian Chamber of Commerce, our Asian American Chamber of Commerce, where you'll meet people in the community who in turn can introduce you to someone that may want to hire you. So those are some of the things that I cover in the book. And it was an exciting opportunity. And I hope that many of you will enjoy the book. The libraries have it. And Kathy and the Regional Business Council are making some books available. And I'm very grateful to share that knowledge. With that, I am going to invite Naretha to say some comments about her field. And then I'm going to have Angela talk a bit about her experience. And then I'm going to throw some panel questions at them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over first to, actually, I'm going to go to Angela first and let her talk about her experience as an international student. And then I'll get to Naretha. So Angela, give us a little bit of your insights about having had your pathway into success.
Sure. Thank you, Betsy. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me. And I'm delighted to be here with all of you today. And I have experienced every difficulties that Betsy is talking about, all international students face. I'm delighted to share my experiences and hopefully to shed some light on how to improve your career starting journey. According to my observations, international students tend to prioritize academic achievement over networking and relationship building. Because we're an international student with no local connections, we are already a step behind the other students. As a result, you will really need to work hard to establish connections and network. Here's my stories and as well as some pointers on how to make connections. You'll be really surprised your classroom can be a source to build the connections. Talk to your classmates. Some of your classmates might have full-time job and talk to them and inquire about their business and companies. This is also a good way for you to figure out what job interests you. And you are seeking advice from first-hand source. If an internal employee can recommend you to their employer or the hiring manager, you are one step ahead of the other candidates. And also get involved with your school's clubs. When I was in Webster, I was studying finance and they didn't have any finance or investment club. So I founded an investment club that invited many speakers and allowed club members to network with the professors and the professionals. And that also gives you an opportunity to contact the speaker afterwards and ask them if they can assist you finding an internship. And also your professors can also help you find an internship. So building a good relationship with your professor is tremendous help for you to find an internship. Also, most importantly, please attend your school's career fair. Here's a funny story of mine. I remember an American guy who happened to be standing next to me at a career fair saying, career fairs are a joke, nothing comes out of it. Nonetheless, I've had 2 internships, both of which I obtained through career fairs. One of them was a smaller business only fair. The other one was the main career fair. And that's how I got my banking internship. And in a year's time, I returned to Webster University's career fair to interview and to hire interns. It felt really surreal because I was on the other side of the table looking for an internship exactly a year ago. So don't give up hope. It can work. Here's some tips from what I learned from interviewing students at a career fair. Please practice a firm handshake. I'm sure you have heard of it many times. I was just like you and thought I heard it before, blah, blah, blah. But I conducted an interview with this international student. He had a princess handshake. He gave me his hand like this, and then as soon as I touched his hand, he pulled it away. It gave me the strangest feeling, like I did something wrong. And then I don't remember the rest of the interview conversations. So it's important to have a really good firm handshake. And then second, please make use of your school's career center. They can aid in the organization and polishing of your resumes. At the career fair, there was an international student who had a 7-page resume with a lot of blank spaces. I understand that you want to list your international experiences, but please keep it brief and only include the important and most relevant skills and experiences. Also, wear appropriate attire. It demonstrates respect for the interviewees. And I understand most companies' dress codes have relaxed in the recent years, but that doesn't apply when you're looking for a job or an internship. And also, please, when you attend the career fair or any interview, have some questions ready, show some interest, be enthusiastic, and be upbeat. No one wants to hire someone who's down and who's barely, saying one or two words here and there. And also, as Betsy mentioned, that join the nonprofits, you will probably find more details in Betsy's book. And I'm actually looking forward to reading it. I'm going to purchase it right after the interview. I'm so excited. So those organizations can help you to, being a member, attending events they host can build your network and relationship much faster and more easily than you could imagine. When I was a student, I was not aware of all these organizations. So Betsy's book really will help you. And a little bit about my history. I began my internship in my senior year in November and got hired in June, but then my OPT didn't arrive until September. So that's when I started hired as in credit analyst 1. And then I got promoted to credit analyst 2 within 4 months. So don't lose hope. Just don't expect anything. Just keep working and show enthusiasm, work hard, and, ask for things. Don't say no, just keep working. Even a little task, it doesn't matter. Just keep pounding it out. It really helps out. And despite being the newest team member, I was in charge of the training participants in the Career Accelerator program. I've used a number of CPTs and as well as 2 OPTs. So I know the pain. And I've seen all international students' struggles. And also, please stay strong because everything will work out in the end. And today I'm officially got promoted to an assistant vice president.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
Congratulations.
Wow. Congratulations.
Well,
You know what? Before we go on, let me suggest something. And a number of things, Angela, you said really are so true. And you've just been through them. So they really are sort of real, particularly for our students. I'm going to ask the students, one way to be recognized is to appropriately ask a question, a thoughtful question. So what I'm challenging you about is probably half of you are saying, I'm shy, I'm sorry, I don't do that. Well, believe it or not, Angela's probably shy, I'm shy, but I've learned a behavior that I need in the workplace. So what I'm saying tonight is we'd like to see a couple of those hands go up on the reaction. If you don't have access to that, then just turn off your mute and say, I'd like to ask a question. So we'll give you a couple of minutes, but Angela, go ahead and you finish your remarks.
Oh, that's all I had.
Yeah, and I think
Okay, great, good. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm going to build on Kathy's comment. Not only is asking questions important, but when Angela talked about working hard, one of the things I discuss in the book is a lot of foreign-born people, and in my experience at Nestle and with international students, is they work really hard, but they don't understand how important those personal relationships are. So whether it's asking questions, engaging, following up, and forming a relationship with coworkers and other people in the organization, because it's important in the American workforce. They call it likability. And there's research that often people who get promoted have high likability scores. They may not be the smartest. And sometimes our international students, you are the smartest people. But if you don't make those personal relationships, you will basically be kept in the same job. And I'm sure that Angela's promotion is not just because how smart she is, but because she's built those relationships. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Naretha to talk to us about the business etiquette and those relationships. How do you not have that bad handshake? How do you make it work? Naretha, to you.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm going to share my screen. But before I do, I want to again say thank you very much for the invitation to be here. This is one of my favorite opportunities to speak to students. And so, Kathy, of course, I appreciate the invitation. It's always wonderful working with Tina. And Betsy, you all have such a treasure in Betsy Cohen. Please connect with her. Her book is amazing. So I'm excited that you all get a copy of her book. And Suzanne as well, thank you for all of the work that you've done to help to pull this together. And Maria, it's so good to see you again, because I've seen you over several years now doing this good work. I will now share my screen as we discuss developing your authentic personal brand. I'll start from the beginning here. All right. So we are again going to discuss developing your authentic personal brand that is really important to your success in business and in social situations. And you've heard so much important information already today. You just saw me in action showing gratitude. I took that time intentionally to make sure that that you all had the opportunity to see me take the time to live in gratitude. So if anyone ever does anything for you, make sure that you take the time to say thank you, and just having an attitude of gratitude and living that way in your life, you end up having great energy. And Angela mentioned a few minutes ago that, bring the energy that you bring to your workplace and to your interviews, it really does matter. So having that attitude of gratitude, make sure you take that with you everywhere that you go. So again, I'm the founder of Ever Appropriate Etiquette Institute. So let's first define what etiquette means. Etiquette is the art of making others feel comfortable. But if we need to sum it up in one word, the word is showing respect. And Albert Einstein says you have to learn the rules of the game and play better than anyone else. And so you've learned many of the rules of the game today, the game of building a personal brand. And so I'm excited to share some more with you. So your personal brand, how many of us in this room, and I'm here to actually have a conversation with you about personal branding. So what we'll do in this virtual space is, if you would just type in the chat, me, how many of you have a personal brand? How many on our call today have a personal brand? I'm looking in the chat. All right, actually, okay, there we go. I see me. Okay, Amber has a personal brand. Okay, I see a few more. Anybody else have a personal brand? Okay, all right, very good, very good. So there are some. Great, Leonardo. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you are correct. As a matter of fact, everyone on this call has a personal brand. And if we define personal brand, it is in if we define personal brand per Jeff Bezos, your personal brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. So in one word, your personal brand is your reputation. So if you're taking notes, we don't have a lot of time to talk through it today, but think about what you want your personal brand to be. How do you want the world to see you? And when you're not in the room, what do you want people to say about you when you're not in that room? Do you want people, your potential employer or your current employer, do you want them to say, you know what? That Sue does a fantastic job in everything that she does. She has a spirit of excellence. Let's promote her. Let's send her to this opportunity to represent our company. That you definitely want to be high on the list and high on people's minds when you're not in the room. First impression. In the chat, if you would type yes or no. Is your first impression important? In 2022, is the first impression still important? Let's see. Okay. Yes, obviously. Yes, that is true. Yes, Leonardo. Yes, you are correct. Your first impression is indeed important. And it is said, there's a Harvard study that says your first impression happens within 2 seconds of someone laying eyes on you. And that's not a very long time. So you want to make sure that you do everything that you can to have an excellent first impression. And that first impression is lasting. However, you continue to make impressions as you move through relationships. So it's not just one and done. You have to continue to cultivate lasting and meaningful relationships. So what are those attributes of the first impression that deem whether you have a good first impression or something that you have to work on? One is the powerful handshake. We've talked about that many times. And when we are in person, we go through an exercise and we really practice that handshake. A couple attributes of the amazing, powerful handshake is that you have a firm grip. That's really, really important. You want to have your palm to palm. So your palm connects with the palm of the other person. The web to web, the web of your hand connects with the web of the other person's hand, and have excellent eye contact. And I know it can be a little bit strange to look someone in the eye, but that's something that you definitely want to get used to, because that is a really important part of creating lasting and meaningful relationships, business and otherwise. We had a conversation in another regional business council meeting about being aware of your facial expressions. And it was a wonderful conversation. I was going to reference this a little bit later, but there is a young professional in town who is an attorney at a large law firm. And they were asking, if there was something that you wish someone would tell you as you are, as you were moving up the ladder, what is that thing, or what are those things? And one of the things that she said was being aware of facial expressions, especially if you're in negotiation situations. Practice your poker face, a pleasant face. But at the same time, you'll be in meetings and people will say things that don't make sense. Someone may say something to even upset you a little. And this is your opportunity to practice professionalism. And that doesn't mean that you don't address situations, but it does mean that being aware of facial expressions will definitely be something that gets you far as you move through your professional journey.
Naretha, somebody asked about the handshake in the era of COVID or such things. How do you handle handshakes right now?
Very good question. I've been in several situations, and sometimes I am comfortable with shaking hands and others I am not. It's kind of a dance right now. One of the things that I choose to do is stand a little bit further away and don't extend my hand if, in fact, I'm not looking to shake hands. And it's very awkward to deny someone a handshake. So, you want to try to, have your body language as if, you can even like tap someone on the shoulder and say, hello, how are you? Good to see you. And that way it's kind of clear that you're not necessarily looking to shake hands. Or another thing that I have done is, hello, how are you? And that's kind of it gives that the body language that is our greeting. So we won't necessarily go further than that. I'm curious, Kathy, what do you think about that?
Well, I was going to say something very similar to what you said. I mean, I kind of sometimes take a cue from the person that I'm greeting or I'm seeing. And I would say one thing that you can do to get over the awkward moment is to say, so nice to meet you. So that kind of clears that up. But if somebody else extends it to me, unless we were in very serious kind of lockdown, I would go ahead and shake their hands. Now, frankly, I carry hand sanitizer with me. So before I eat or anything of that sort, I'll just discreetly put a little there and take care of that situation. So I think the important thing is how you stand upright, look at somebody in the eye. Do you know what I'm saying? And again, if they extend it, then I would go ahead and shake their hand. Sometimes people do the elbow thing. I don't particularly care for it, but I've often done it if the other person says that's what they want to do. Right now, right here in this area, people tend to going back to handshaking. So I think the distance is a great idea on your part. And let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
One of the things can happen is you can either be too far away or too close. So you really want to make sure if somebody starts to move away, it typically would mean you're too close to them. So you kind of want to keep the appropriate. Now, if there's a desk, that's easy because there's a desk between you. But in more of a networking situation, you just want to kind of keep the distance, right? And the other thing I want to emphasize is practice is the name of the game. Nobody was able to do this. I've been doing this for years. I've probably greeted thousands and thousands of people. I've made every kind of social mistake. But you know what? People are forgiving. You go on, but you smile. You look at them in the eye. In Angela's culture, and I don't know if there's anybody here that has a similar culture or kind of background. And Angela, I don't mean you personally, but in the Asian American, I've talked to a lot of our Asian American young professionals, and a lot of their parents taught them, you just work hard, keep your head down, everything will be fine. Don't ask questions. Well, in the American society, yes, we want you to work hard, but you have to, at times, you have to be have the head up and smile and look directly and be prepared to answer and ask questions. And if you don't know, you say, that's really an interesting question. I'll tell you what, let me get some more information and I'll get back to you. And then do it. Do it.
Agreed. Follow-up is key. Follow-up is very, very important to your success. And again, business and personal situations. So that is excellent. And Kathy, I agree. I do the same thing in regard to the handshake. And actually, I've been traveling a lot lately, and the more I travel, the more it's not even a thought. People are just shaking hands. It just kind of is. So keep that in mind as you move about as well. One of my mentors, and also Colin Powell, apparently says that someone is always watching. Someone is always watching. And going back to the young lady that had the presentation to our RBC group the other last week, she was, doing what she does. She was being excellent and doing her work. And then someone was watching her for an opportunity, and she actually ended up being tapped to become Canada's honorary consul for St. Louis. And that is, I'm sure someone would have absolutely loved that position and was jockeying for the position and doing all the things. But because this woman was known for excellence, she was tapped for the opportunity and given the opportunity, right? And if she earned that opportunity by being excellent. And so many times, you think you're working and you think you are impressing a certain group of people or a certain person. And that's who you're trying to do, your best for. And of course, you're doing your best for yourself. However, there are so many that are in your corner and that are watching for opportunities to provide opportunity for you. So never tire, as Angela said, never tire of doing well. Keep going, because someone is watching and your opportunities will come.
Naretha, on that topic, I've learned this lesson the hard way. When I was younger, I didn't really completely understand it. But if you walk to a company, for instance, and larger companies will have like a security desk or a reception desk, be very polite to that person. And then if you end up actually going to the office where you're going to be interviewed, and perhaps there's a receptionist or somebody of that kind, be very nice to that person. Because guess what? You never know who that person is. And I have found that the people that are those kind of gatekeepers more influence in companies than you think, because what they can say to the person you're being interviewed with later, well, that was that young man was really nice. I really liked him. He was very respectful. So keep in mind that you're not just looking for the person you're going to be interviewed with, but everybody you come in contact with potentially can be that person who can say something nice or something not so nice about you.
Absolutely, Kathy. And that has so much to do with your integrity. Making sure that you are a good human, that you're not so focused on being the boss or being the professional that you don't take the time to acknowledge and be polite to those that you think can't do anything for you. Right. Those like Kathy mentioned many times, it's the secretary that's really or the gatekeeper that's running the business, right? She runs the person's schedule. She's at Christmas dinner and has been there for the last 20 years. And so just make sure from the custodial staff to the wait staff at restaurants, all of it matters. And many times you're being at say, for instance, dinner or lunch, a business lunch, is an opportunity to speak, but it's also a test to see if you are polite and to the wait staff and so forth, and also to see if you know business etiquette and dining etiquette in that space. And I will, one thing about dining etiquette, I have had countless hiring managers and CEOs look me in the eye and say, Naretha, I will not hire someone that seasons their food before they taste. It's like, what? Why wouldn't you hire somebody about seasoning their food? That makes no sense. But it actually is thought that you are rigid in thought, that you take action before you get the facts, and it's an insult to the chef just by seasoning your food before you take a bite. And so it's those small things, those unspoken rules in business that make the difference as to whether you get the opportunity or not. So actually, I have a dining etiquette online course, and we talk about all of the dining etiquette tips and tools that will help you to feel comfortable in dining situations, because as being a part of the Regional Business Council, I'll say for the last, 10, 12 years, I have been at countless tables, and having dining etiquette matters when you walk in the room, because you may be sitting at a table with 10 people with all the silverware and all the things, and you need to know which fork to use first, and all of that matters as to your comfort in those dining situations. So that is definitely important, and you actually will get a copy of access to the dining etiquette course thanks to the RBC. Thank you, Kathy and Tina, for that. All right, so your network is your net worth. Networking is the art of building lasting and meaningful relationships, and you definitely want to make sure that that's important and top of mind for you, is building relationships. I'm going to move forward through these slides. If you would like to have more conversation, I am available to you on Instagram, and I'm going to get to that right now. On Instagram, you can follow me at Ever Appropriate. On LinkedIn, I'm Naretha Hopson. And you are invited to the Dining Etiquette Masterclass. So feel free to, there's a link that Tina is going to put in the chat, and you just fill out the information and you will get the access to the online course. And also I wrote a book called Ever Appropriate Etiquette, 5 Steps to the Professional Presence That Pays. And that goes through a lot of the tips and tools for brand building and business etiquette. And then of course you also have dining etiquette here. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I want to build on something that Naretha just said, which has to do with networking. And I want to ask both of you a question about how should international students use LinkedIn to build networks with alumni, college, people in the community. What do you think about the use of LinkedIn? Angela, what do you think?
I think it's one of the greatest tools that you can connect with your alumni. Because I know Katie mentioned Jim Lally. He is a SLU alumni, and he would go a mile to help any SLU graduates who would reach out to him and ask questions. Like, you will be surprised. You think sometimes when people are higher up, you are hesitant to connect and talk to them. Don't forget that they're still human beings. So just talk to them, approach them, be nice. And like Katie and Betsy and Naretha mentioned, that communication is the key. It's even one question can offset you from the whole crowd. So use LinkedIn wisely. Don't bombard with many questions. Have a thoughtful questions. What are you trying to get out of it? What is your goal? Think through it and write it, and then just send out a message and say, research the person. Hey, I want to be in the financial industry. I've seen your achievement. I've seen your, how you reached where you are today. They will give you all kinds of, even if they cannot help you, they'll be able to give you a really good advice that could save you months of work.
Good, thank you.
Leonardo, why don't you, you've got a comment there, unmute yourself and just tell us what school you're from and ask your question.
Okay, I'm from McKendree University. Thank you all for taking the time to be here with us, helping. And I'm actually have a career fair tomorrow here in McKendree. And I was wondering which kind of question should I expect to receive from them. And I was always taught that the resume was very good to be just one page. And but it's kind of hard to put everything that you want in one page. So I was going to ask if it's okay to have maybe 2 or 3, or if that's too much. Thank you.
My experience would be, Leonardo, that 1 or maybe 2, if you have a lot of organizations and connections and things that are important. Usually if someone is graduating undergraduate or graduate degree, I'd be surprised if they would have more than 1, but maybe 2. But beyond that would be looked at as things that are not likely to be important. I will also say that you're going to be asked questions about certainly, can you work? Will you be able to work here? Is one of the things that's very difficult at the career fair with international students. And one of the things I do want to add is I think right now with a lot of hybrid work and more distributed work and remote work, you may have some more opportunities this year than we've seen in the past, because you'll be able to say things like, I'm allowed to work here for 1 year, or if you have STEM, 3 years, and maybe a visa will happen for me to stay, but then I could continue working for you remotely, and I would be a terrific employer. And you have some employee, you already have many people working remotely. So I think you have a new opportunity with remote working right now. Angela, Naretha? Yeah, Kathy, do you have
Yulin's got a question. Yulin, you want to ask your question? Or I can't read what your name is there, but.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, so I'm a master's degree student from Washington University in St. Louis. And first of all, thanks so much for hosting this very informational workshop for international students. So I'd like to ask a question to Angela. So in my home country, South Korea, people focus more on building their academic skills, knowledge, and getting more certificates rather than working on networking. So could you share your, and then after came to the America, I little by little understand how important the networking is. And could you share your one of your successful networking stories and how did you network with that person? Thank you.
So I was on the same boat, just like you did. And think about it this way. The academic achievements are really great. That's when you kind of want an internship to a universities. And that's where really the most of it plays in. But it's also important to have a good, good GPA and good graduation. Yes, but employees are not really looking for 100% A students. They want you to be able to, when you network and meet people, you have different involvement in the communities. The employee, which that shows them that you can handle the academic work and also community work. You're not only, you can multitask and you can, you know, take some pressures because, you know, when you're on the real job field, you're not only going to be behind the desk. It's also about building a relationship. It's also about, you know, asking questions and learning from other people. Because if you're going to learn everything on your own, it's going to take years. But just asking one question, go through their experiences. Like, you know, this workshop is going to save tons of time for you, especially if you get Betsy's book. Based on what she says, you will know more about your HR questions, about the visas and about the networking and the different organizations how you can connect to. So I understand that academic is important, but do not downplay that how important it is to build a relationship, build networking. Even if it's not like when you say building a network, it doesn't mean you have to like glue to that person. It's just like greeting them in a warm way. Just say, hello, Katie. It was very nice to meet you. And then in the organization, that kind of in a way of, oh, hi. You know, that's the first step of building a network, of building a relationship. It's not like you go and ask many questions. You just kind of learn little by little. Go up to someone and say, thank you for the event. I learned a lot. And met a lot of people. You have to step out of your zone and talk to random people at any events. Just like how Katie is asking you to ask your question on the camera. I know it's really uncomfortable. Sometimes like I sweat too. Like even now I'm still out of my zone. So it's okay. That's how you learn. And then eventually you get better at it. It becomes normal. But keep trying.
Well, Betsy, I think you ought to hire her. Take her away from Enterprise Bank. She's
Be my publicist.
We've got
so-
two more questions there.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at the pronunciation, so I'll just say Siqiyan. Please say your name.
Yeah, hi, it's Siqi. I'm also a student from WashU, a graduate student. And I want to first thank you all for your sharing. Yeah, it's really inspiring. Yeah. And I just come to America for a month, and so I think I will not be eligible for the CPT in the summer, but it's really a critical time since I will graduate this December. So I want to ask Angela and Betsy about the suggestions that what things I can do instead of full-time internship. Yeah.
Betsy, why don't you take that?
Yeah, I would say, you know, you might be able to volunteer in something that just gets you connected to people. You can't volunteer in something that's a work-related job, but you could build your network by working and volunteering in something that gets you meeting more people, and that builds your network for when you can get more job focused in your second semester. How about Gan?
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for, again, just arranging this. I find it very, very helpful. My name is Gon. I'm originally from Thailand. I'm currently in a actually PhD program at UMSL for counseling. So my answer might like go back to one of the case example that you had there, Betsy, but to all other people as well, if you want to help out here. So my question here is, so of course with counseling, I know it's a bit more specific, and licensure might be one of the requirement if I were to stay in the long run. I think I relate that back to maybe the social worker case that you talked about, Betsy. Is there something about those things that talked about in your book as well, or do you have like extra specific kind of like recommendations or advice for maybe someone who want to go for something like that require more specific requirement and stuff?
I think, you know, every case is very unique, and I think you know, you can talk to me offline through LinkedIn, connect with me, but I think trying to find the right place that you'll get some experience and then have someone find you irresistible to keep working with them is the key for them to create the kind of work experience that will help you. We have time for one more question from Giska.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for organizing this event, especially for international students. And I've been knowing Betsy for a long time because I'm one of the mentee in St. Louis International Mentoring Program. So thank you for being here for WashU students. I have a question for Angela, especially like we are both from Asian, I'm from Indonesia. And I feel like when I came here in 2019, I feel like we're from Asia and like we have different mentality. Like we are supposed to be like, yeah, head down and keep focus on your skills, keep building your skills. But when we came here, we feel like every technology is advanced and everything, like every people is more skillful and more experts. So how do you build the mentality that we also have skill, we also have competitive skills and we can compete with other US or native people?
Well, look at it this way. You're very smart and everybody on here is very smart or you wouldn't be on it. So you can do two things at one time. So I would say absolutely focus on those academics and being really good. Know what those things are. But I think John mentioned something that kind of triggered in me. Who he networks with may be very different from somebody who's thinking about, I'm an engineer and I want to go here, there, everywhere. So remember, you've got to think through what your discipline is. And then whatever your background is, you've got to get that expertise and your resume will show that. You'll be asked questions about that, but also the other skill set, which is everything that Naretha, Angela, and Betsy are talking about. And here in this country, those are very important. You'll still be you. You know, some people are just much more outgoing than others, but still the basics of head up, straight, looking people straight in the eye, a nice handshake if that's appropriate, greeting people in a friendly way, and being as best you can true to yourself. You'll be nervous, it'll feel a little awkward, but at the end of the day, the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you'll get good at it and you'll realize, well, I can do that, just like you can do whatever your academic skill is. You know, when you were a freshman, you were nervous, will I ever get this? When you're a junior or a senior, you say, oh, I understand how to do this. The same with these kind of people skills that are needed. Hey, Betsy, now you're not going to let this one lady who's got a question.
No, Sunitra is our St. Louis University intern for the Mosaic project. So I will let her get a quick question in because she's a terrific intern with us. And then, then I'll let Naretha's hand is up and then we'll turn it back and thank you, Kathy. But Sunitra, thank you for being our Mosaic intern.
Thank you, Betsy, for giving me the opportunity to be an intern and work with such a wonderful organization. I just have a quick question, and I know we're running out of time. I just wanted to know, just in a few words or probably in a few sentences, if you can give us some tips on salary negotiation.
That is a challenge. Kathy's probably a good expert on that one, but it's a delicate dance that I do describe in the book, the right kind of language to basically show that you are really interested in the job and that you hope maybe there is room to maybe change the pay, maybe get more vacation days so you can get back to India, more ability to have flexibility in your hours. There are many things that you may need to negotiate, and there's some very pleasant ways you can bring it up and make sure that that employer knows you still really want to work with them. So it's a delicate discussion.
Naretha, do not bring that up in the job interview.
Correct.
They bring it up, fine. Take a note in your head of what they just said, but don't deal with it then. When you're offered the position, then there's an opportunity to say, I need to think about that a little. Do you have any room for maybe some increased salary? And typically people will answer that. But I think on the issue of, besides salary in life now, we all want a lot of other things. The more you then take the job and do well in the job, the more likely people will then say, oh, I see, you've got to go back to whatever the country is. I understand that. We'll figure out a way to make that happen for you. So there's lots of other things that are part of looking at the salary, but please do not bring that up until you get further along in the period. Well, I think it's my job to start it and close it. So what I want to say is, I said to Tina, I said, I've got a lot of stuff I got to do before my workday is over. And maybe I'll just, kind of quietly tip off the meeting and let let Tina end it, but I did not do that. And the reason is we're all in a lifelong learning mode. And Angela, I just thought you were outstanding. What a superstar in terms of articulating things. And then Naretha, I love you dearly. This woman, you got to read her books, because I had her come to all of our staff and have her go through this kind of, how do you eat? What is the etiquette? Hey, what if you're in a network thing and there's a buffet? What the heck do you do? How do you hold a plate and talk to somebody? There's all those kinds of things that you just have to practice. I've dropped many a plate. I've had forks drop on the floor. I mean, life will go on. Everything you handle with diplomacy and grace. But anyway, Naretha, you're an angel. And then Betsy, any final words? Because Betsy really is the kind of St. Louis, but not just St. Louis, the Missouri. And really, she's now asked all over the country to talk about what we're doing here. Any final things you'd like to say to the students that are with us?
I would say is that the United States and our current administration is looking to keep more of your talent here and is looking for ways to make it better and easier for employers to work with you and get visas, and keep at it, because we need your skills and you have so much to offer, and you're going to add so much here and in your home countries, but particularly we need more of it here, and we want that. So thank you for what you bring, and we want you to be successful in St. Louis particularly.
And by the way, we have the books, both of them, Betsy and Naretha's books. We also have some courses that Naretha does online, and 30 of you can take that online course if you'd like, but you got to speak up. So Tina's the one to speak up too, and she'll make all those arrangements and make sure you know how you get access to those things. So with that, you're way ahead of the game. If you've got some friends who didn't come tonight, well, guess what? You're way ahead of the game, because now you know things they don't know. And now you can go out and practice those things. So good luck to all of you. It was really an honor to have you with us, and please take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Thank you,
care.
panelists, and thank you,
Thank
students, for coming. It was so great to have this event. So I really appreciate it. Good night,
Naretha,
everyone.
I want to say I like your quotes. Thank you. I took notes, all of them.
Oh, wonderful.
So I will use them in my classes. Trust me.
Please do. Thank
Even
you.
that do not season the food before you taste it. Thank
That's
you.
right.
Thank you. And thank you, Betsy. Wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thank you so much. Take care. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.